Produced the ultimate warrior. She is a woman. She is strong. She stood up to the federal government and demanded that her love for her wife be treated as equal. People can argue who is the LGBT Rosa Parks, but they can never argue who is our Edie Windsor, the great woman who blew the trumpet of love and brought down the walls of Doma, the astonishing Edie Windsor.
Thank you. I feel like an old lady jerk after all of them, okay? I'm taking a totally different path. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk about the gay community, how joyfully we've grown in the one hand, and how hugely important job facing the community today, the homeless youth. First, the good side. 50 years ago, I was an ignorant middle-class girl who said stupid things like, I don't want to be identified with those drag queens. And then Stonewall happened, and they changed my life, those queens. They changed my life, and I saw them as human beings that they were and are, and I loved what I saw. And that was the beginning of my sense of community. Most of you were too young to know, to have lived through the years when there were gay men and there were lesbians, and never the two should meet. Okay, there were gay men's bars, there were women's bars. There were always more gay men's bars than women's. There were gay men's events, there were a few women's events, okay? And then came the AIDS crisis. And in the AIDS crisis, all of a sudden, all those lesbians, those separatist lesbians just flew in, okay? They carried garbage, they cooked, they took care of people, okay? All right. And nothing was enough, okay? But in the midst of our horror and upset and fear, the wall came down. And we saw each other, and we loved what we saw. And we understood Larry Kramer's silence is death. And we began to break the silence and to come out, and our sense of community grew. And still more of us came out. And then as the flooded DOMA cases began to hit the courts, and self-esteem began to rise, and still more of us came out. And more of us, the more we saw people who had lived hidden came out. And we saw them for the first time, and we loved what we saw. And our self-esteem grew more, and more of us came out. And when the Supreme Court of the United States said we deserve respect and equality, we came out in droves and saw each other even more, still more. But a large piece of our community never got to the joyous side of coming out. They are the homeless gay youth, okay? I've just read, I only learned today how many, that okay, there are hundreds of thousands of LGBT youth in the streets, suffering, homeless, okay? When we began to find the courage to pursue the truth of our hearts, we never expected that so many kids would be thrown out of their homes for showing the same courage. No child, no youth should be left to suffer in the streets without shelter. Particularly not because he's LGBT, but no kid, okay? It's not fair, it's not just, it's not American, in fact, okay? Okay. I am proud to join my voice in support of the National Campaign for Youth Shelter. Today, we seek a bed for every homeless youth. Today, we assert that when an LGBT youth is rejected by his family, then the LGBT community must become their family. Okay, all right. Together, we must fight for the protection of these kids. Together, we must show that LGBT kids deserve to be loved and cherished as much as any kid. Together, we must get them off the street and into homes. And I know today is about gay community, but everything I've said applies to all kids on the street for whatever cause. And if we succeed, and when I say that, I would like to remind everybody that none of us ever thought we could be married. So we have a good chance to succeed, okay? Then let it spread to every street child. That's all I want to say, gang. Thank you so much. Okay.